All right, well, it looks like we're live. So, hello everyone, and welcome back. This is Sentient Cloud. It's been a hot minute since I last streamed. Things got in the way again, and I kind of ran into a bit of a block as well, trying to figure out, you know, whether or not to stream because I didn't really have a whole lot of content lined up, and so I ended up making some concessions. So, for one thing, I decided to use a library called toml++ in order to parse the build system's toml file, which has its ups and downs. There's some eccentricities with it. So, in fact, I'm just going to pull up the actual file itself real quick and just kind of see what I mean. Let's go. So normally the project is the part that goes at the top, and like the ordering especially kind of got changed. There's some other things that ended up getting changed, like the double quotes. Normally these are double quotes, but in this case they changed to single quotes. And some other things. This date is just straight up wrong. I don't know why, but it is. And so, some concessions were made, but it does seem to function, which is really the important thing. And I have ideas on how to improve it, but I don't know if I can actually get C++ to do the things that I would want it to do in order for that to work. So for the time being, I'm just going to live with this solution. I mean, it works fine. It's just some minor issues that I've come across. So with all that said, I am starting a new project, and that is to write so for a long time I've wanted to write a game engine, but writing a game engine when you don't have a game in mind is really kind of silly. I realize, there are plenty of people who, have been writing game engines and, are doing it online and, streaming it or, making videos about it. But ultimately, the purpose of a game engine is to make a game, right? I mean, you could argue like, was it the, what's it, Epic? Epic make Unreal Engine and they sell it to people, but the point of the game engine is to make the game. And so in this case, what I'm going to be doing is I'm just going to make a game from scratch, no engine, and I'm going to basically build up a game engine to make the games that I want. Because again, a game engine is basically just all of the tools you need to make a game. So if I just make those tools and then I proceed to make a game and then I, make another game that's using those same tools and, just kind of improve things as I go, ostensibly I'll get a bunch of different games and a decent game engine that kind of fits my personal preferences. So with all that said, let's get into it. As you can see here, we've got some definitions here for things like the result enum and some integer types that are sized. So that should be everything I need there. Got main.cpp, and I guess we'll go ahead and just get started on window.hpp. Just going to put in the and actually I should probably modify this a bit. And FO just stands for Foundry. Yes, just a quick abbreviation for that. Okay, so we need window struct, and that should be in a namespace. Just gonna really quickly change this name as well. Yeah. All right. Okay. Now things are going to get interesting here. I think for the time being, actually, do I need? Yeah, I do need to have some kind of external stuff here. So, for example, just put this into there. I think typically they use integers for width and height. Yeah, we'll use ints. And I may or may not need position. That's not nearly as critical for the application itself to know about. It does obviously matter for like the operating system, but I don't think I need it. So that should be fine. What else? I don't think I need to store the title. That's not terribly important. Width and height will be needed for querying later. What else? Is there anything else? I don't really think so, at least. Okay. We'll need a destructor and let's see. Well, we'll just start with this for now. Okay. Just go here. .cpp. Now, one thing that I may end up doing in the future, I haven't totally decided yet, is writing my own kind of implementations of the various platform windows, because all the various operating systems have their own ways of handling windowing. In fact, in the case of Linux, there are actually two valid ways to do it depending on your platform, like specific stuff, but that's a whole other issue. I'm just going to be using GLFW for this kind of initial phase. So let's include HTTP. And let's see. And I'm going to go ahead and define a static global. And that's going to return result. Okay, and we'll need to supply the width and the height and the name. So chart name. And actually, let's call it a string. We'll do a string. Width and height. Okay. Let's define. Just going to call glfw terminate. Oh, and let's make sure to put this into namespace. Okay. Yeah. Whoops. by default, it'll just return success. All right, so first things first, I need to initialize. Oh, what was that about? Okay. First, we need to initialize, and that's going to be glfw-init. And I think, mistaken, just do it like that, because it'll return 0 on, let's see, is it? I think it's 0 on 6. Let me just take a quick look here. I should probably have the glfw documentation open so that I can. Okay, yeah, so glfw init returns hold on, let me just make sure I'm getting this right, because okay. All right, yeah, so that defines glfw true and glfw false, and if it returns false, which is 0, then we want to exit. Okay, so we'll do fail to initialize glfw and return win error. So make sure to include and these should be angle brackets. Okay. That's the first step, and then I need to set up window hints. Here we go. Yep. Okay, glfw window hint, and then I want to set the context versions for the OpenGL context. So if you didn't know, OpenGL requires basically kind of like a well, it's called a context, but it's basically like all of the information that OpenGL kind of references. Because OpenGL, it's more complicated than most graphical APIs, but it doesn't require you to make and then handle all of the various kind of memory handles that you that are created on the GPU, right? It handles all of that kind of stuff internally. In order to handle that, though, it needs to have a context, which is where your windowing API typically comes in, or like there's like an API kind of on top of that. So, like for example, on Linux, you'll typically use something called either GLX or EGL. Both of those create this OpenGL context or manage it. I think they create it, but they also manage it. For Windows, I think it's WGL. I think that's what it is. I don't know what it is for macOS. I'm not expecting necessarily that I'll be doing much with macOS, but you never know. We'll see. But yeah, so let's make sure we get correct context. So basically the correct version of OpenGL, and I'm just going to be working with 3.3. So that is a very commonly available version, and it's got a fairly modern. Wait, is that no context? There we go. It's got a fairly modern API. Okay, window hint, and let's sure we didn't click one. So profile. There we go. Okay. And assuming all of that goes through, I don't know if those does return. Let's see. Okay, no, it does not return anything. So that should just work. Now, let's do window. Width, height, and the name. It's just going to C string, and then this is just going to be null for now. I may end up changing this later. needs to be equal to window. Then just check and make sure that window is not a null pointer. If it is a null pointer, we'll just call it failed to create window. And return result win error. Okay. And that should be it. So now I need to go to the build file here. I'm going to go ahead and include libglfw. I'm also going to, I think I need to include libgl. And while I'm here already doing this, I'm just going to go ahead and include glue as well. So those are all libraries that I'm going to end up using here. Glue just helps with getting extensions. So like basically, normally, in order to get function pointers for OpenGL, you have to normally basically request them from the system. You say, you know, hey, I want the function pointer for, would be an example, like GL clear. I think that's actually just provided by default, but let's say, for example, you were trying to get GL clear, which clears the screen. That would be something that needs to get, that, you know, theoretically you would load that in, and in order to do that, you basically send it a string of that function signature, not the signature. It's basically just a string representing the name of the function. If you've ever used libdl, it's basically like that in many respects. Anyway, okay, so let's go ahead and let's try. Oh, actually, I should also make something else real quick. No. Let's go ahead and define a, we'll call it game HPP. This is just going to hold the game state. So make some header guards. There we go. Okay, cool. So struct game is going to have all the various game states, and one of the variables it's going to have is going to be a window. Okay. So let's just include window. And put that to public and game. Have that there, and then result init. In this case, I guess we'll just need the name. Name. And we'll also have result run. Okay. Okay. So I need to define game.cpp. Game.hpp. Define here game. And I may not actually even need the destructor to have anything. We'll just tell it to shut down or game shutting down, something like that. All right. And then game init is going to take, it's going to return, I should say, a result. This needs to be inside a namespace. This needs to be const string enter name. Okay. So here I'm going to call window init. It's going to take the name. It's going to, take a width and a height. And we're going to make sure to include result. I may actually have to make a few minor changes here, just because there are other systems I need to initialize probably before the window, but we'll worry that, we'll worry about that later. I just realized, like, that's basically become my catchphrase. Jeez, don't know why I screwed that up. We'll worry about that later. It's kind of, I say that a lot. Anyway, okay. So we've got results, and then I want to check if results is. I should make a macro for this. Let's do that. Hold on. Okay. So what I'll do is let's open up defines here. I'm just gonna go ahead and have it. Let's see. We'll do pound define. I guess check. I guess we'll call it check. And it's going to take a function. And this has to be a function that's going to be returning a result, right? And it will do if, so first we'll do result equals function. And then if result does not equal success, actually, what I'll do here instead is this. I'll explain why in a moment. If it's not a success, then we want to print. Actually, no, we don't want to print. We'll leave the error reporting to something else, but we just want it to return the result. So in that case, that could be easily done like this. Hold on, do it like that. Okay. So basically, we just want it to. It's sort of similar to how try works in Zig. If you've ever used that. If you haven't, then well, obviously you don't know what that means. Basically, try is sort of treated as like an error macro that just helps you to quickly deal with that. Okay, so the reason I'm using this or equals is I want to be able to propagate error types up or up or down the stack, basically closer to the base stack pointer. For example, I've got different classes of errors here. We have no errors would be success, and then you've got stuff like IO error, memory error, etc. I'm going to add more later, but the point is, like, if I end up getting an IO error and a memory error at the same time, I can know whether or not that is the case. So I can like check and see, oh, I'm getting a bunch of different types of errors. Okay, let's figure out what's going on there. So, all right. So this check is just going to do that, and then with the or equals, that means that it will not overwrite any previous errors that are being propagated. So, okay. So what I'll do is we'll go up here real quick. We'll do result success, and then call check window, and yeah, okay. Just realized realize I do not appear to have. Did I forget to include? I did forget to include defines. Hold on. Just make sure I'm getting this. Okay, so defines is included there. Okay. So why is that complaining in here? Oh wait. Just nuts. Oh, because window isn't included. No, that is included. Wait, what the heck? Excuse me. What the heck is going on here? Well, I guess we should probably read this. Undeclared identifier 6 has. Oh, right. Hold on. Got it. Make sure that we check against the actual value because this is an enum class. Go. Valid operands in a binary expression. Oh, wait a minute. Hold on. No, it's just straight up calling it. Okay, what is going on here? This is... Why is this not working? Okay. I'm just going to... Let's try running this real quick. Or building it, I should say. Okay. Hold on, what the heck? Okay, failed to parse. One sec here. So first off, I need to just modify this real quick. Go ahead and say, and I'm just going to fix this. Yeah. Okay. All right. Why is it not? It's not reading that correctly. There we go. So it just wasn't reading those numbers. Okay, no match for. Okay, so is it just not like using enum classes for that? Maybe that's what's wrong. Hold on. Let's try removing this real quick. See this is the issue. This real quick. To result from incompatible type. How is that an incompatible type? Both returning. Yeah, result is right there. So why is it not happy with it? Wait, hold on. Why is that? Why is that looking weird? Am I crazy? Yeah, I am crazy. Okay. Jeez. What's going on here? Okay, well, you know what? I'm just going to change this to an int. Yeah, initialize return object r value of type int. Okay. So I guess we just go through, change all these to int. What I think means, yeah, that's the one needed. Go to window here. So I'm thrilled about this, but this does appear to be the way things are going to have to work for now. Just want this to happen. Okay. I guess result. Okay, I think I kind of get it, because you can't do the whole or equals thing on something that's not doesn't have or equals capability. I'm not going to try and implement math operations for this sake. Not wanting to do so. Okay, include there we go. Okay. Just make sure it's return results. Return. Okay, why is it not? It's not including the libraries. Why not? Let's make sure. So I've got them there. So it's just not grabbing them. Hold on. Hold on. Oh, hello. There. Okay, let's see what we got here, because that's calling libraries. What the question is, where is getting the compiler? Okay. If libraries is value. I think that might be what's going on there. And I'm just going to go ahead and delete some of these print statements because they're just kind of getting in the way. Okay. This. All right, cool. Just get rid of that. Build. Cool. Okay, now we'll copy this to not CD, CP. Sure, copy that. Okay. It's our build. Okay. Oh, hold on. Never mind. Let me just go ahead and find something really quick. That's something I'm gonna have to. Actually, we'll go do this. We'll go ahead and just put it into main. So include game.hpp. So game. It. Give it a name. We'll call it Pong. I'll just go ahead and uppercase. And then, oh, this needs to be Foundry game. That's within the Foundry namespace. And if that does not equal success, just return 1. Okay. Why is that? Why is that unhappy? Right, because that's inside of Foundry, so it needs to be there. Okay, cool. Okay, so it's still not getting the libraries for some reason. Okay, well, I wasn't intending for this to become an episode about fixing the build system, but apparently that is something I'm going to have to do here. So here, so it should be getting these. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, okay, hold on. This might be it. Did not realize that that was happening. Okay. Let's see if that fixes the problem. Okay, and then go back. And let's go ahead and make sure to modify one of these. Okay. There we go. We do, I don't know, can I do video runs? That? Okay. Good. Okay. Game shutting down. So that means that we are indeed running it. And if I do, if I leave full screen, well, it doesn't really show anything. I need to actually put stuff in order for it to show up. Okay, there we go. All right. Okay. I think I'm gonna go ahead and end the stream here. So ending a little early, but I'm happy that we got some decent progress. I'm going to continue working on this probably in the interim, and yeah. So, thank you all very much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed. And I'll see you again probably tomorrow. So, have a great day.